we'll thrash you within an inch of your life. That's what I used to get.
Were you beaten often?
Oh, yeah, quite often.
Severely or?
She was a school teacher.
Well, I understand that.
Not putting anything on you.
No, no. Your
But
son-in-law.
she had a rubber strap that brought
Yes.
so on. Boy, she was giving me that over the back. And,
So she would hit you anywhere with it.
oh, yeah.
Was that unusual, or were children often physically punished at in this stage, like in the 1920s?
I never heard of that. And then the children around there being used being like that.
Like that.
Like that. But anyway, I was telling you about this inspector. One year he come around and I went out and got in the buggy with him. He said, Jimmy, he said, have you got any brothers and sisters? I said, yes. So he had a big book in his overcoat pocket, and he took it out and took the pencil. So he said, what was their names? So I said, Harry was the oldest boy, and then there was Joe, and then there was me, and then there was Tom, and Marge, and then Valley. So he said, why I ask you this? He said, I travel all over the province, from place to place. He goes by train and then he hires a horse and buggy and goes out in the country and visits these boys. He said, if I keep my ears and eyes open, he said, I might get word of something. So only about 2 years after the next year come, I asked him, I said, you hear anything about Brother? No. Said I never. But there was parts of the country he hadn't gone into yet. So he come back the next year. He said, Jimmy, I found your brothers. And oh boy, was I ever delighted, And he said that there was a brother Harry and a brother Tom living together. And at Barton's general store. This Barton used to have a farm, and he sold the farm and he bought the general store in Palgrave.
Oh, yes.
You've heard of
Yes,
Palgrave.
I sure have.
And he said, your other brother Joe, he says, is working for his father 12 miles at Beaton. Palgrave and Beaton is
Yes, very close.
Right close. Well, I thought that was just wonderful, And so anyway, I got the address from him. He said the Palgrave and Beaton. So anyway, I wrote to Harry. And it was pretty a year before he wrote back to me. Oh, he was a funny guy. And told me that he was glad to hear from me and know that I was in Canada and all this. And he said, I'll be up for Christmas. So anyway, I was all tickled to pieces and thinking he was coming. This was in the following year that I got the letter. And I was waiting and waiting. So the boss said, we'll go out and meet the train, the horse and cutter. So we went out. The train come. No hurry. So we waited till later at night. There was another train coming in. They told us at the station. We'll wait for that train. No hurry. Went home and I wrote to him and told him. He pulled a bad one on us and we went out to meet him. But anyway, he never wrote to me for a long, long time. Must have been a year or more. So anyway, along come a letter and he said, Jim, he says, I'm working in Toronto now. He left the store down at the Palgrave. And he says, I'll help my summer hobbies. So anyway, we had no car. He went out the horse and buggy again. No Harry. So anyway, went on. I was working at the sawmill at the different place in the lumber camp, and I got a little money ahead, and I thought, well, not going to wait on any longer. I'm going myself. So anyway, the neighbor was going out to Gregler's that day, the next farm to us, and he said, "Gee," he said, I said, "I'm going out," and oh, he said, "You come with us." He was taking his daughter out, and she had got a job in Toronto. So anyway, her and I got on the train together, and I went down. I had Harry's address and McLaren's Avenue, and I got a taxi off down the station and told him I want to go to McLaren's, and they gave me the number. And I went there, and it was about 8 o'clock when I got there. And I remember this lady coming, she had one of those white dust caps on her head and a big white apron that you used to wear in those days. And I said, "Does Harry Gordon live here?" She said, "You're Harry's brother."
You
I
recognize
talked like him.
Yes.
She said, "You're Harry's brother.
English.
Come on in." So anyway, I went in, and she made me a cup of tea, and I had some cakes and cookies. She went to the cellar door, and she opened the cellar door, and she said, "Harry," she said, "your brother's here. Be right up, Aunt Annie." He called her Aunt Annie. And so anyway, she come back and sat down, and she was asking me all about the North Country, lumber camps and one thing and another, and of course I was talking to me. Time was going on. It must have been half an hour. She don't know what he's doing. "Harry," she said, "ain't you coming up?" "Be right up, Aunt Annie." She come back and sit down, talking again for another half hour. So I said to her, I said, "If you don't mind, Miss McCurdy," I said, "could I go down in the basement?" She says, "Sure." So anyway, I went down the basement, and here was Harry. It was remember when the radios come out?
Sure.
Or do you?
I had an old. I had an old radio. They were on out longer before I was born,
Yep.
but I had an old radio.
So anyway, he'd got a radio, and he was making himself a little radio table, and he was I can see that. He was standing there, and he was rubbing this, and I went down, and he said, "Jim," he said, "I'm trying to finish this table." And he went on rubbing away. Then we got up and said, "Well, Jim, I'm glad to see you." You know?
Yes.
So anyway, we talked for a little while. I said, "Well, guess I'll go up. I'm going to keep you from your work." You know, he never bothered to come up. I went up and I sat there and talked to Aunt Annie and Uncle Joe, her husband. Well, then, while we were sitting there talking, in come my brother Joe. He got through at the farm working for Barton's dad, you know.
Oh yes.
And he got a job he had got a job at aluminum collapsible tube and containers, you know, for toothpaste.
Oh yes.
And so he come in, and we grabbed all me. I mean, he was so pleased, you know. And I thought, well, what a difference in two brothers, you know, to be like that.
Did you ever understand why this the difference?
I never, always, all through life, Harry was, he used to do the funniest things.
Do you think, Mr. Gordon, that this was maybe a result of what happened to him originally at home with your father dying and the experience of coming out, and that maybe he was afraid to show his emotions, or
It shouldn't have been.
shouldn't have been?
Shouldn't have been. because we all had a wonderful time at home in England with everything we wanted. And, you know,
He was the oldest, though.
he was the oldest. Yeah.
Did you ever see your sisters again?
Pardon?
How many sisters did you say you had?
2.
2. Did you ever see them again?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
When I was telling you just a little while ago about going to see my oldest brother, I thought, well, while I'm down there, I'll go and see my other brother, Tom, down at Barton's at Palgrave. So anyway, it so happened that this Barton had 2 boys, and he had a girl, Olive. And she was working in Toronto at the Bell Telephone Office. And she was going with a guy by the name of McMahon. So anyway, I happened to, or she said, I hear you're going down to Palgrave, down home, down at my home. And I said, yes. She said, you could go down with us. It was in the winter time. This McMahon was going to take her to see her parents at home. So anyway, we started out one Saturday night, and oh boy, there come up an awful storm. So we shoveled, and we'd get stuck, and we'd hit a drift, and we'd shovel for ways and get the car going, and we'd through the next drift, and then we'd get stuck again. So we tried that for a while, and then off in the distance, we seen a light, very faint, finally. So McMahon says, boy, he said, I'm afraid, Jim, he said, we've had it. He said, let's walk over to that farm, see if they got a phone. So we walked over and went in, got warm. So anyway, she phoned home. She was 11 miles from Palgrave, that he got stuck, couldn't go any further. And they come out and met us in a pickup truck. They brought the truck along. They didn't bring the car. They thought the truck would be better for the snow drifts. And my brother Tom come. And him and I sat in the back of that truck for that 11 miles. Oh, boy, it was an overnight. And McMahon and Olive got in the front of the driver. But anyway, we got there. And so I asked Tom, I said, Joe tells me that Marge lives in Hamilton. And he said, yes. He said, I know that. But he said, I've never seen her. So I said, well, how about us going? And, he said, Jim, he says, I haven't got the money. I said, I'll pay your way. So anyway, we stayed there the next Sunday and the Monday, and on the Tuesday, we went to Hamilton on the train. I paid his way. Go in and we seen Marge. She was, I don't know how she come to be there, but she come out through the home some way, and yet her auntie, Aunt Alice, was kept her for quite a few years in England. But somehow or another, she was put back in Bananas Homes, and she was sent to people by the name of Wilkinson. So anyway, this Mrs. Wilkinson was going out that night. When we got there, I guess it was 4 o'clock. And she said, you make supper for your brothers. So anyway, Marge made supper, and Marge was about, how old would Marge be? 16? 16 or 17. But she was babysitting Wilkinson's little girl. And anyway, we seen her and come back home, and after that, Marge got sick. And Harry wrote me, and he said, Marge is in the hospital. and they're going to have an operation on her head, and they've got all her hair shaved off. And here, they didn't take a tumor off her brain, the size of a good orange. And that was one of the first operations that was ever performed them days.
Just for neurosurgery?
Yeah. And she was quite successful over it. But what is her right leg?
I think so.
But since the operation, her right leg went bad, and every time she'd pick up a foot, her ankle would foot would go in till they, I don't know, after they got married, she married a guy in Gouverneur, and she came up to live with us afterwards. And she stayed with us for a year, and then she met this guy in Gouverneur, and they got married. And anyway, he bought a steel harness for her to hold her ankle straight. But ever since then, she's told she has to walk with one of those walkers.
Yes.
That her husband died 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years this summer, eh? And she's in the home now. Seniors home in Bracebridge.
Ruth, is there something you'd like to ask Mr. Gordon?
Tell them about Violet.
Oh yeah,
Violet,
my other sister Violet.
the baby.
The youngest?
She was still in England, and she married a guy that was in the army. And so when Mother was writing to her, she said you should pack up. She said and come to Canada. She was telling her what a lovely place was. By Jove, they did.
They came here too.
And they were married for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years in the old country. They never had each other. The first year she ever had one, and she had 4 of them. One right
This is a good air, right? Your family thrived here then.
Yeah,
So you were on your own at a pretty young age,
yeah,
making your way,
yeah.
and what we find really difficult to imagine. And it's interesting to me that you always wanted to find where your brothers were and where your sisters.
Yeah.
You never lost your sense of family.
They never bothered their heads.
It never was important to as important to them as it was to you.
Never bothered their heads to try and find out where this one was or that one was.
But you were by yourself. The others were close to each other, so maybe it was more important. Like if you had been with one of your brothers, that might not have been as important. You were all by yourself.
I was all by myself. And I used to want to be in Canada, in England, or where are they? And,
Yeah.
you know.
You have a question here?
Have you ever been back to London since you came to Canada?
No, I wish I had. Yeah. Yeah, we lived on 78 Kimberley Road.
When you were saying you went to the village, Stepney? That's near the Thames.
Stepney, yeah.
That's near the Thames River, is it not?
I don't know.
I think it is. I'm not sure. I've never been to England. I just read,
Yeah.
and when you're reading, you sometimes don't get the right sense of geography about a place. So you went to work in the lumber camps.
Yeah.
You were about 17 then when you were doing.
My first lumber camp was.
You saved your money.
Yeah.
Would you say that you were a good man with a dollar when you started to work?
Oh yeah.
Why?
Because I never had any money.
You never had any money, so that would be important to you.
Yeah, I knew the value of money right from the start.
Right from the very start.
Yeah.
The one of the men that we read about, he said that wherever he was, I guess it was hard to get food. He says to this day that he eats his dinner, that he puts his hand in front of the plate so that nobody would grab his food. He said that's a habit from when he was young. Now he's been very successful, and lots of food. And he said his proudest boast was in the Depression or any time else that his children sat down to lots of food at the table. That he was a good provider for his family. That he took because he lacked so much when he was young, that he took real pleasure in the fact that he was able to do these things for his kids. Would you say most of the people that went through your experience were ambitious or hardworking, or were there qualities that you got from this that maybe other people didn't have?
Like homeboys, you mean?
Yes.
Well, to tell you the truth, I never met any homeboys.
You didn't?
No.
Do you know that a number of them have gone on to be mayors of Canadian cities?
They've been mayors and they've been doctors. And, we got it from reading in the book about them.
From what I know
And
very...
yet there was other ones that, there was pitchfork was used on them, and it's terrible.
Well, yes, many terrible things happen, but many of them have been really tremendously successful in life. Like with all of the bad experiences that they had, that they went on to make such good successes of their life. I find that, like we today give our children so much, and hope that they'll do well. People of your generation that went through your experiences did well in spite of everything, or because of it, I don't know.
Yeah. Yes, when you think of it, the times are so bad them days to what they are now.
Yeah. Like you didn't have much opportunity by comparison, in terms of, I'd see my children growing up today.
No, you just had to make the best of everything.
So you worked in the woods first, in lumber camps.
Yeah.
What did you do after that?
Well, us 4 boys got together and we got money enough, and we sent to Mother and told her to get ready and come to Canada.
So you brought your mother to Canada.
Yeah.
And she was remarried.
She had remarried?
And was widowed.
And widowed.
2 half-brothers.
You had 2 half-brothers?
Yeah. Yeah, they're still living. All the brothers are dead. Yeah, they're all gone, but Marge and I.
How old are you now, Mr. Gordon?
Will I tell them?
Next week.
Next week? 83 next week?
82.
82 next week. Well, you've had a good full life and a tremendously fine memory. You have really good recall of these early days.
But with all this high block and everything that I had, she's raised up without fault.
You had good luck too.
Marvelous.
That's really wonderful to hear. How many children have you had?
3.
3 children.
Yeah, there's Kenny the oldest boy. There's Stanley the oldest boy.
Second.
He's a school teacher up in the Sioux.
Oh yes.
And Myrna.
Myrna, I've met Myrna.
That's 3 children. Yeah. All doing well.
Yes, you must take some satisfaction in that. And grandchildren now?
7.
7 grandchildren.
Yeah. They're doing well too. Really well.
Well, that's very good to hear. I'm a little curious though. You were in the lumber camps, and then you brought your mother out.
Yeah.
And I find that remarkable in itself. That after the lumber camp, what did you do for a living?
Oh, I've done everything. In the depression time, I've done everything to keep things going. I was looking after Mother. I couldn't get any help from my brothers. And, I'd get an odd quarter a head, and I'd buy a box of 22 bullets, and I'd go out and I'd shoot rabbits and partridge and one thing and another. And,
You said you waxed hardwood floors.
hey?
How about when you waxed hardwood floors for the richer people?
Waxing hardwood floors?
Oh, yeah. I used to go from house to house like the grocery merchants and go in there's hardware and ask them if they wanted their hardwood floors waxed or polished or,
And that was hard work.
them days.
After cleaning them down
was
first.
hardwood floors. And, when I get through, and the lady would say, well, How much? Oh, yeah. Jimmy, I always got Jimmy. And, $2. Maybe they give me $5.
Yeah.
Which, oh, boy, that was money then, days.
That was good money.
Oh, boy.
Maybe you show us the pictures here. Show the girls, Trevor, Jennifer, Ruth. We'd like to get these on the camera if we can.
Oh, this is mother
Your mother, can you get these,
when she
Dave?
worked in the,
Hold on,
in the army.
Which way?
just towards the camera.
Towards the camera? If we can just turn it towards the camera.
Like that?
Yeah, that's perfect. Just
This
hold
is your
it
mother
forward.
when she was doing war work?
Yeah.
Okay. And this one I think is in 1928. Trevor, you want to hold that?
Hold on.
I think this is a picture of your younger brother? Your mother and your younger
Yeah.
brother?
You want that one too?
Please. I've got it.
Got it? And your father, I believe, here.
Oh, yeah, that's Dad. He was a great big man.
Yes, good size.
Yeah.
They say that many of the children, that when he came to Canada, people didn't believe, they say that they were 8 or 9 or 10, and that the children from England were much smaller than Canadian children at the time, that people thought they were younger. Did you ever, anybody ever suggest that to you?
No.
Apparently the reason was, again, it was better diet normally for children here, and that even at 10, 11, or 12, oftentimes they thought that the English children were younger. They were actually smaller than the Canadian children at the time, and they said that was because of diet. Your father was, as I see in the picture, was a good-sized man.
Yeah. And Mother was small.
Small.
And we all took after Mother. We're
You're,
Not my size.
you must have been remarkably tough people. You must have been remarkably tough.
Which
Your mother,
was
that's your mother, I think, here in Canada. Have you had Gravenhurst?
Yeah. No.
It's in her backyard.
I think that's Tom Joe's in,
Well, it's in Canada anyway.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
In this picture here, I don't know,
Oh. Oh, that's my brother Joe.
that's your brother?
Yeah.
And that's at a campfire, or?
No. That's when we went, we went to Cairns. Remember there was
Well, he's building a fire there.
eh?
He's building a fire there. When you went fishing or something.
Oh, this is one of his fishing trips with Gravenhurst.
At Gravenhurst again?
Yeah.
So you lived in the Gravenhurst area for quite a while then?
Oh, yeah. Well, it must have been 6 or 7 years.
What brought you to Sudbury? Or what brought you to this part of the country? Boy meets girl. But,
No, I didn't.
No,
live
but
here.
I tell you,
We came the year after we were married.
while we was in Gravenhurst, and I was looking after mother and the 2 boys, my half-brothers, I bought a truck. And they were building the highways then, widen them out. So
Yes,
that
lots of road work.
They were only a wheel track.
Yeah.
wide. And I bought a truck. I'm like, I'm making $10 a day. So I was working up in the village by where she lives, Rosso.
oh yes, I've been to Rossville.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
In
Beautiful
some
town.
places. And we were staying down about 4 miles, down Price from their place. And there was a piece of ground there Fry's had And they let Crowley and McCracken
Yes,
A
the
few
caterers,
hundred
the
caterers.
caterers, sure.
come in there and they set up camps for road band.